Are you ready to maximize the potential of a flow control device on any E61 group machine? What about getting information? It's going to really help you dial in a coffee. How about repeating that God shot you pulled or mimicking the shot profiles of legendary machines you might not be able to use in real life? Hey, coffee lovers, Marc here from Latte Love with the Pressensor Smart Pressure Sensor. After easily installing this onto your machine, you can do all those things and more. It connects via Bluetooth to a free app and a variety of compatible scales, putting the power of real-time pressure and flow data visualization in your hands. It's going to work with any Apple or Android device, and we're going to have a bit of fun and use it with the Apple Vision Pro. So coming up, I'll talk you through the exciting use cases for this innovative device and bring in our in-house expert, Zach. He'll be using the Apple Vision here to show you just how powerful this tool can be. Now, Zach worked closely with Danilo Lodi, a World Barista Championship head judge, to develop extraction profiles for 3 specific coffees we love: a dark roast, a medium roast, and a light roast. Now, using these profiles, you can maximize the flavor in each of these coffees or use them as starting points for other coffees that share their roast profile. He's also going to walk you through how to use a press sensor to repeat excellent shots and dial in any coffee at home. So what does a press sensor here actually do? Well, it gives you live readouts of your brew pressure and flow rate if you're using it with a scale, and records these to the app so you can repeat them anytime. During extraction, you can use a press sensor with a flow control device to follow existing extraction profiles. It even gives you a score based on how closely you matched it. This data visualization provides several key benefits. Because it automatically saves your graph for every shot you pull, you can easily call up your favorites and use them as roadmaps to achieve that same excellent flavor with much more consistency. Just follow the graph as you run your extraction. On the app, you can also pull up extraction profiles from popular commercial machines. Follow those to experience what espresso from these machines tastes like without actually having to get your hands on them. Finally, the press sensor helps you dial in grind size and coffee dose weight. As you pull extractions, you can review pressure and flow profiles in the app and make adjustments to improve flavor, body, and more. So let's take you through installing the app. Now, I already have my press sensor installed in the E61 group. If I didn't, I'd use a 5mm Allen head wrench, take out that bolt, screw this in just hand tight. Do make sure that you have a little washer on there so it makes a good seal. So let's get the app. I'm using an iPad here, so I'm an Apple, but it's available for Android as well. So I'm just gonna go to the App Store, type in press sensor. There it is, press sensor coffee flow, so select that. Now, I've already had this on, I removed it, but so I'm just gonna hit the cloud and download that, and that's gonna install on my iPad. Then I can open that up, and there we go. I'm gonna allow it to find Bluetooth devices, and it's saying welcome here. Okay, great. It's gonna give me a quick little tour. Press here to connect my press sensor, great. Press here to connect my Bluetooth scale, great. And press here in history to see my earlier drinks. So let's make sure that our press sensor is connected. So we're just gonna press on pressure like it said. And I know I have a couple in the building here that we've been using. I know it's 46250, so I'm gonna select that. Great, and now I'm gonna use this Varia Accu Pro scale here. So this is a Bluetooth scale. It is compatible with other scales. So I'll just turn the power on here, and that's going to come up. And once that's up, I'm just going to set this down on the tray here. And to connect my scale, I'll go to weight, available devices. It showed up already, so I'm going to select the Varia Accu Pro, and it's connected. Let's just double check that. And you see I'm just pressing on the scale here, and we're seeing the weight change on our screen there. So we're all connected there. So let's take a look at a couple of things here again. So this is going to be your pressure. It's also showing how much battery power I have in my press sensor right here. This is going to be the weight. Let me just set something on there so we see. Right now, since we haven't actually started an extraction yet, it's just going to show me that. I'm going to tare it right on the scale. I'm going to hit tare on the scale, and it tared out to 0 here. If I take the cup off, see, it's going to go back. I'll just tare that again, so we can do that at another point. Great. All right. So we have a graph here of sorts showing pressure here, time here. If I was going to start an extraction, I just press start. Up here we have history, so we can go and look at other brews that we have done before. Talk more about that. And there we go. So we're ready to do an extraction. So before we run an extraction, let me just take you a couple things that you have here on the app. So we have pre-brew notes, how much coffee we're going to be using, and our scale. I'm just going to touch that. You can see that it's moving right now. Perfect. In pre-brew notes, you can go in here and put in different information about, you know, the beans you're using, the roast date, roast color, your espresso machine, boiler temperatures, that kind of thing, grinder brand, model, setting, and then you can go and add other notes about that. I'm going to leave those blank for right now, but if you wanted to go in, you could just select one of these and type in what you want. Our dose weight, that's how much coffee we're going to be using. Oh, let me hit the right thing here. So you can select, I will be using an 18-gram dose, so I'm going to confirm that. So let's get it set up and let's show you how this runs if you're just going to track an extraction. Then after that, we'll come by and show you how you would follow an extraction. Got 18 grams loaded into my portafilter, so we're going to lock that in. Before we do this just standard extraction, we're going to record it. I'm going to make sure my flow control is set properly. Right now, I'm at a closed position. You can move this around and set your closed position by lifting the sleeve up and setting it down wherever you want. I like mine there. So I'm going to open 1 1/4 turns. So that's right there. That's the stock flow rate on ECM and Profitect flow control machines. I'm going to place my cup on my scale down here. Varia Acu Pro. Hit tare. So we're showing 0 now on our display here. And I'm just going to lift the lever, and when I do that, I'm going to press start up here to start recording this extraction. So let's go. You see our pressure going up here. The line up top is our pressure, and our flow rate is right down here. I did use 18 grams. I'm looking for a 1:2 ratio, so 36 grams out, and that 20 to 30 seconds. And 16 seconds in, about 15 grams. We're looking pretty good. I'm going to try and stop this when I see 34 grams. So I hit 36 about, so right there. And we'll stop that. And we can take a look at the graph here. So our pressure, this is pretty steady. You can see a little erosion in the puck as we went along. And then our flow rate here, which we're looking for a nice even flow rate out. So about 45 degrees up on the flow bar there. We went 28.9 seconds. And we hit 37.84 grams. So really, you know, pretty good. Could I have stopped it maybe a second earlier? Sure, but that's what that looks like. So now we can go next here, and we can just do another one. Or if we wanted to go back and take a look at that, we can go into our history. It automatically records every extraction, so it's going to be my espresso number 16. So I can go in and look at that, call that up. I could share this, set this as a reference, which we'll do in just a minute, or make more notes about this. Now, I haven't put anything in here, but you could name this, you know, your time, roasting date, all kinds of different information you can have in here. And again, when you're initially setting up, if you put some of that information in, it'll remain until you change it for each extraction. But to go back, so we'll set this as our reference, and we're going to try and match this. That's a pretty good dial-in sort of graph. So loaded up my portafilter again with 18 grams, and we're going to follow this extraction. It should be almost identical if everything goes right here. So I'll put the cup on the scale, tare my scale. We're at 0 now here. Again, so this graph from our last one's going to stay right there, and we're just going to see what happens here. So we'll lift the lever and press start. And there you go. You can see it's tracking really right along the same, maybe flowing just a hair faster. But our pressure is the same pretty much. And we're flowing just a hair faster here. So what would you do? I'm going to stop this. I went a little over just so we can see it run, so we'll stop that. There we go. and take a look at that. So our flow rate was a little faster. Our pressure here was a little bit lower, as you can see right there, just a hair lower. So, you know, there might have been a defect in the puck that caused it to flow just a little bit faster. So you could use some of that information. I also could have taken my flow control and slowed that flow down a little bit as I saw it starting to diverge a little bit here to try and fix that. Again, I let this one run long just so we could see what was going to happen. But there you go, that's how you do that. Now if we go to next here, now it should in the history have kept, so that was our first one, where we were just recording one, and here's one where we followed, so we can take a look at that again. It'll just show us that graph again, what happened, and again we can go in here and change, and we can make notes on this and keep those.
Hey everyone, Zach here. So let's dive into this. So to start, I'm going to show you how to use visual cues we get from the Pressensor to dial in our grinder in just 3 shots, and what I like to call the Goldilocks method. So what we're going to see is how, using pre-existing extraction profiles, you get visual feedback that tells you if your grind was too fine or too coarse or just right. All right, y'all, so we have our Crema Wave ground in a new grinder, and we want to compare this to our basic dial-in profile. Here we see a steady flow curve that is nice and linear at that steady rate of change, and we look at that nice solid pressure curve. So with this pressure flow profile, we are looking for a slight decline through the deterioration of our puck, and we are starting at a 1 1/4 turn on our flow profile to that stock bar of pressure. So let's go ahead and get to it. We're going to go ahead and set this as our reference, and we have our screen nice and large. As we start our shot, we can see that it follows that similar curve and doesn't quite hit to that stock bar of pressure. This is a clear sign that we might not have as much restriction as we can see. All right, and with that shot pulled from a coarse grind size, we can see a few different things here. So starting over here, we can see that it quickly jumps, and that rate of change has a lot of area underneath that curve. That's a clear sign that we might need to go a little bit finer on our grind size. We can also see that on our pressure curve, it didn't quite hit that peak stock bar of pressure on our curve. All right, so I taste everything. Let's go ahead and try this. As we can see, we went towards the lungo side of this shot in about 14 seconds, and nope. Yep, so that is not gonna do. So what are we gonna do here? Well, we're gonna take this graph and we're gonna make things a bit finer. And while doing so, we might push it a little bit further. All right, so we've made our necessary changes to go a little bit finer, increase that restriction to try to match this basic dial-in. So with that, let's go for it. As we start our shot, it already pretty similarly matches everything, but it does have a little bit more restriction within that pressure. It takes a little bit longer for our flow control, our flow graph to start inclining here. And as you can see, it's a little bit farther below our actual dial-in graph. So as we can see, we didn't quite hit our basic dial-in curve for our flow or for our pressure. Now what we want to do is not make such a large course correction to hit the previous shot that we got, but we want it to make a slight adjustment back to match this flow curve and also allow a little bit of a deterioration on our pressure chart. So on the Varia VS6, the previous shot was a little too coarse. I was at a grind setting around 2.1, and then I adjusted, and now I'm too fine. So my grind setting was at 1.3, so I'll try a setting of around 1.7, which is right in the middle there. So I'm going to try to now match our basic dial-in profile. So now I've made my adjustments about halfway in between that 2 coarse shot and 2 fine shot, so we'll see how it lines up with our basic dial-in. And as we can see here, our pressure's looking great, very much matching our previous pressure profile. That's almost dead on. Same with our flow profile as well. We're very much mimicking that dial-in. So I would say this is off to a great start. And now as we're approaching, we'll stop that shot. My pressure profile just about matches that top end deterioration of my puck there, while my flow profile here also matches that exact weight over time. So with this, I would just make a couple adjustments, decreasing the amount of weight in my final gram output, and voila, a basic dial-in. I've spent the last couple of months pulling and tasting hundreds of shots using the Pressensor with WBC head judge Danilo Lodi, learning his profile techniques to kind of bring out the best flavors in particular brewing situations. Using what I've learned from Danilo, I developed specific Pressensor profiles you can actually follow for 3 of our favorite coffees: the Maroma's Planitia, a dark roast; Whole Latte Love Crema Wave, a medium roast; and Whole Latte Love Tolima, a light roast. Each uses a different technique. For dark roast, we use a more simple approach due to its low density and increased restriction during extraction. Dark roasts also produce more fines, making them more soluble and prone to clogging. To prevent this, we actually employ a pre-infusion technique that allows us to avoid bitterness or any earthy mouthfeels. This is also followed by a stock flow rate extraction for body and sweetness. Medium roasts, which vary in density depending on its origin, benefit from a combination of techniques. After a light pre-infusion, just like the dark roast, you may ramp up to full pressure while adjusting your grind size to still ensure that you have the right amount of restriction. As resistance decreases during the extraction, we apply a ramp down technique to reduce the amount of flow and maintain balance. This helps your extraction with specific flavor and aroma compounds without over-extracting. Light roasts, being one of the more dense and permeable, require all techniques for optimal extraction. So we start with a longer pre-infusion to balance the high acidity, then gradually increase pressure to extract lipids and carbohydrates faster. To avoid over-extraction, we employ a more exaggerated ramp-down technique to slow the flow and also ensure a smooth finish with maybe fruity or floral attributes. These profiles produce excellent results with these coffees, and you can also use them as a starting point for brewing other dark, medium, or light roasts. All right, so we're going to start with one of our easier roasts, a dark roast. And for this, we're going to do a light pre-infusion by starting with our flow control off and moving up just slightly to saturate our puck before continuing on with our extraction. So let's go ahead and see this in action. As you can see, I can move it so we start pre-saturation and move all the way up to our stock bar of pressure. And as you can see, we're somewhat following our previous line of our Maramos, and our flow is very similar. And as soon as I get to a 1-to-2 ratio, I'll go ahead and stop our shot. And there you go. As you can see, I didn't quite follow my pressure curve or my flow curve, so there could be some things to change in order to increase my score. Now moving on to our Crema Wave, which is more of a medium roast, and this will take a little bit more finesse since it is more dense than our dark roast. We'll continue moving forward with our pre-infusion for a few seconds, then moving up to our stock bar of pressure, and now slowly ramping down to help with the fact that our puck is slowly deteriorating. And now that we have a plan, let's go ahead and give it a shot. And as you can see here, I'm going to try to follow my graph as closely as possible by slowly ramping down as our puck is deteriorating. And as soon as we hit our grams desired, I will go ahead and stop our shot. Now, stopping our shot at our desired grams, we can now compare this graph. As you can see, I'm pretty close to our desired Kreml wave graph in both pressure and our flow. I could make some small adjustments here, but there's only one way to really test this, and that's by trying everything. Now that's some good Kreml wave. Now moving on to our light roast, a little bit more difficult than what we've done so far, still utilizing a pre-infusion with this Columbia Tolima, and now utilizing a low flow technique. As you can see, we quickly ramp down to a lower flow, right around that 7 bar of pressure, and we finish off with a dramatic ramp down towards the end. Now what that's going to do is still enable us to extract a lot of our carbohydrates and lipids towards the beginning, and then we're going to go ahead and get rid of that kind of watered down shot towards the end with that dramatic finish. So with that, let's go ahead and give it a shot. So first, starting off with that pre-infusion, I'll ramp up, quickly ramping down, following that flow. Towards the end here, I'm going to start ramping down and finish off. So with that, let's go ahead and give it a try. Perfect. Now looking at this side-by-side comparison, you can see that my pre-infusion was pretty well done. I quickly ramped down to a lower bar of pressure and continued that ramp down to a nice solid finish. Now this is going to help right here with that kind of watered down flavor that you might get with some of these light roasts, since it is deteriorating very quickly here, as you can see within our flow. Now with this, the way that everything tasted, I wouldn't change a thing.
Now, each one of the profiles you saw is available on the Pressensor app, so you can load them up and use them to get great flavor from these coffees right from the first shot. You can also use them as general starting points for brewing other dark, medium, and light roasts. Now, before we go here, I've got a special treat for you. In addition to live data visualization, the Pressensor app gives you a score based on how closely you were able to replicate a profile during an extraction. PPDI and FPDI scores are your pressure and flow profile drift indexes, showing how closely you were able to replicate those aspects of the extraction profile. So in addition to helping you get great flavor from your coffee and dial in more effectively, the Pressensor transforms your espresso machine into a game console of sorts. It's a great way to challenge friends and family to a brewing battle. So here's Zach and I going toe-to-toe with our Kreml wave profile. Let's see who comes out on top. All right, Zach, so we're going to do some battle here, right? You called up which profile?
We're going to do the Kreml wave, so it's going to be a medium roast profile.
Okay, well, we saw earlier, right?
Exactly.
So we're going to do that, and I'm going to have a go, you're going to have a go. We'll show them side by side, and we're going to see who's going to do better now. I'm hoping maybe you're going to win because...
I don't think that's too much of a maybe. I have had a couple hundred shots behind this thing with Danilo Lodi, so I don't really think you have too much of a shot here.
Okay, well, we'll see. Who knows, right? All right.
I'd be pleasantly surprised.
All right, let's get at it.
Open up. Oh, coming in short. All right. Gonna allow a little more pressure.
I got it all. Oh, there it is.
There it is. There it is.
There it is. Okay. Looks like you're nailing it.
Woo. And done.
Oh, man.
You got a 50. Okay, you're currently failing.
Yeah, currently failing.
You were a little too aggressive with, I think, putting on that portafilter there. So.
Okay. Well, that was a lot of fun, and I've got to say the Pressensor really is something special. The ability to display and follow the exact profiles for your favorite extractions means you'll never find yourself in a situation where you don't know how to get a great shot of espresso again. For those who want to experiment and explore the vast world of flavors offered by coffees or distinct origins and roast levels, the Pressensor is both your map and your compass, guiding you as you take your tongue on a tour of the world. And the best part, we're really only hitting the tip of the iceberg with what the Pressensor can do right now. The app is getting a big update next year, which will unlock even more versatility, from sharing profiles with friends to creating communities around chasing that perfect extraction, and even more access to extraction profiles for specific roasts, origins, and machines. If you love espresso as a hobby, you should be very excited right now. If you've got questions about this remarkable accessory, go ahead and use those comments and I'd be happy to get you a detailed answer. Thanks for watching. I'm Mark, and if you love coffee and espresso as much as I do, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more of the best on everything coffee, brought to you by Whole Latte Love.